Welcome to the 950 Lounge Show. My name is Kevin Pryor, aka LeBron James, the radio game. He's most electrifying man in media today. I'm joined by 3/3 of the best team in radio, my man Mike, the moderator, lovely, super talented Steph Pearl. And we have a special guest. The face might become a little familiar if you kind of look at your favorite shows. And he's been on everything from legendary shows like St. Elsewhere, The Waltons, one of my favorite shows, What's Happening, and Emmy Award-winning Netflix show, American Primeval. He's also an author, he's an acting coach, and he's here on 950 Lounge in his maiden voyage. A name I can't forget if I tried to. Welcome, Mr. Kevin Scott Allen. How you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. I love your name as well. I'm very attached.
Without question. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't like it when I was growing up. I said I got older in professional settings. It's worked. So, good. Kevin, welcome to the show, man. Yes, you are someone that when you think about the acting craft, right? It is institution for you. It's a craft. It's a lifestyle. It's something that you obviously grew up on. You train, and it's you're pretty much your vocation. Talk about growing up, young man, get into acting. Was it a family thing? Was it something that you asked your parents? How'd you get into the game?
It's almost like a fairy tale story. Nobody in my family is an actor, or was, or aspires to be. I was literally visiting my uncle in New Mexico. We went to a set to watch them film a TV show. And I was 7 years old. And a woman comes up to my uncle and says, "Is your son an actor?" He said, "My nephew? Yeah." And I wasn't paying any attention. I'm looking at the horses, these guys with guns, rehearsing a shootout. So I really was just this wide-eyed kid. Mm-hmm. And they put a script in my hand, said, "Read some lines." I did, with this nice bearded-looking man who looked like a young Santa Claus. Turned out it was Marvin Komsky, was a very famous director at the time.
Nice. Yeah.
And then before I knew it, I'm in a makeup chair. They had lost their actor. I don't know why. I still to this day don't know what happened, whether his parents pulled him out, he got sick. I have no idea. And they needed to replace this actor immediately because they were all set to start shooting. And it turned out to be me. And fortunately, the roles was of a terrified young boy, because that's exactly what I was.
They fit perfectly to what was going on.
Like a glove. So that began it. And I really had fun. Once I got over, the nervousness, as a kid, you can adapt to anything pretty quickly. And I did. And I had a great time. And the agreement that I came to with my parents was, all right, fine, you can do this in the summers, but you're going to go to regular school, the rest of the year. So that's what we agreed on, and that's what I did. I would come out to LA in the summer, stay with my uncle, and I would work, do what jobs came up, and then I'd go back to school. So I had a normal upbringing-ish. So a lot of the kid actors I grew up with didn't. They were tutored on set, and that was their life. And I have to say, education was marginal at best.
Right.
But what you do.
Now, again, you grew up in a time where child actors were the thing. I mean, you're talking about the Richard Thomases of the world, the Danny Bonaducci's, all those. So from a standpoint, even though you had the normal lifestyle because your parents were determined to keep it that, how did you balance that? Because you go to school, the kids see you in school, and whether they love you or hate you, they tease you or they want to be down with you. How is that balance? You go from celebrity to normality.
Well, and that's a really good question, because a lot of my friends had a lot of trouble with that. Fortunately, for whatever reason, a lot of the stuff I did, the kids I went to school with didn't see. I went to boarding schools. So there wasn't a lot of TV watching there, which was great. Once in a while, somebody would say, you look like that kid, but very rarely did they really connect the dots, because they were not of that world. We weren't in Hollywood. So it just didn't register with them. One of my friends, David Doremus, was a good example. was a kid actor who grew up in Hollywood. But every time he would stop shooting and go back to regular school, he was picked on, bullied, yay, movie star, and all that kind of stuff. And, he got through it. I was lucky. I didn't have to deal with that. If I did, I probably either would have laughed or hit him. So, depending on the circumstance.
Okay, Steph.
Yeah.
No, I was just you kind of answered my question. Like, how would you handle something in today's world? We have social media. We have, you click something and then your whole life is on for display in a drop of a second. Like, how would you handle something like that if you were to take that version of yourself when you were younger in comparison to today?
I think the good and bad about that is because you're right. Anybody in an instant can have 800,000 followers watching them make an omelet, sing a song, or do whatever. It doesn't have the same mystique that it did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, if you were on television or in the movies, that was just something rare. That's like seeing the Queen of England. That just doesn't happen. Whereas now anybody can do that. So the bad is you may make a stupid choice and you may air something that you regret airing. Maybe it wasn't, and I'm not even talking, sexy stuff. Maybe it wasn't the best song. Maybe it wasn't the best monologue, but it's out there. But because everybody does it, I think in many ways it's easier today.
Yeah.
Because you might be special, but again, you have people who are, and I don't mean to disparage them, but they call them, influencers, whose only talent seems to be to get you to buy this phone case. And they have more viewers than somebody who's just nominated for an Emmy.
Right.
So I think today it would have been easier because it wouldn't have been such an unusual thing.
You just go say Hak2 and then you become a viral sensation and the world loves you.
Show a little shoulder and all of a sudden, you're on the cover of every magazine.
Exactly. Again, the actor Kevin Scott Allen, actor extraordinaire. Go ahead, Steph.
I'm kind of curious because a lot of actors seem to develop some sort of ritual or routine before they go on set. Is there something or a certain type of ritual that you have adapted to when, like, in comparison to when you were the younger version of yourself and in comparison to now? Is there anything that's similar to that sticks around with you?
I have a funny story about that. When I was younger, this one older actor came up to me and he said, "Let me tell you the key, kid. Have a bottle of vodka in your back pocket." I looked at him and he was dead serious. I just said, "Okay."
We'd like to share the name, Kevin. We don't tell nobody, we promise.
All I would tell him is his nickname on set was the Mouse. In any event, that's a really good question, Stephanie, because I used to always worry about what do I need to do? And actors always think there's a magic bullet, and there's not. You figure out what you need to do. I found for me, what I focus on is what I'm going to do that day and what's happened before. If I'm going to shoot scene 32, which is, always out of sequence or whatever, I'm not going to worry about 46, 22, 1. I'm going to worry about 32, but I'm really going to focus on what happened in 31. What's bringing me into this? And that's where my mindset's going to be, in the makeup chair, in my trailer, or wherever I happen to be. Thinking about 31. 32 will take care of itself. The lines, you know them. They'll be there. You focus on what just happened and what the world of this guy is and what it was and what just happened. So that's what I get into. And that can depend on the role, If I'm playing a drunk, no, I'm not going to be sitting having 8 vodkas, but I want to be focusing on why. Why was I having 8 vodkas? What was going on?
Right.
And that propels me into the scene.
Go ahead, moderator.
First of all, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. Just sitting here looking at you, I'm like, yeah, I've seen him in that. I've seen him in that.
I've seen that fool. Yeah.
I've seen that before. I've seen that. Malcolm Gladwell is most well known from Outliers, having said that it takes 10,000 hours to achieve perfection in one's craft. Now, I've done stuff where I feel like at some point it made sense, but it clearly didn't make sense at 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So is there a point for you where it all just clicked?
You know, it's still clicking, and I hope it never stops clicking. And that's, again, everybody always wants an easy answer because that's what we grew up with. Our parents gave us easy answers to everything. Maybe they weren't right, but why mommy, why mommy, why mommy? And the ultimate answer, because I said so. But I think it's different for everyone, Mike. Everybody has different abilities and everybody has different things that affect them. And when you're an actor, you're using who you are. And for me, the most important thing was becoming comfortable with who I am, as opposed to, oh, I've got to be somebody else. I've got to put on this thing. Camera will see if you're faking it. You got to understand who you are and bring that. So I think it's merely a matter of how each person processes what is needed for that particular endeavor, whether it's painting, the piano. I mean, look at Mozart, played concert pianist at age 6. I don't think he was alive 10,000 hours. So it all depends on the individual. For me, as I began as a child, I just sort of did what I was told to do. I was a real hyper kid. So for me, acting primarily became hold yourself still in front of the camera. And that was my main thing. If I held myself still, my talent, if you want to call it that, sort of took over and made the scenes work. And as I got older, I realized I ain't holding myself still anymore. That's become second nature. That's become Kevin's behavior when they yell action. Just as the minute you walk into a library, you don't need to tell yourself to speak quietly. You just automatically do. So I think it's going to be, if you look at it as a journey and you say, you know what, I learned what I learned and I bring to what I'm doing every day what I learned already, and I'll learn more and I'll bring more tomorrow and more tomorrow. Maybe it's 10,000 hours, maybe it's 50,000, maybe it's 40. I look at it as a journey, and I'm so blessed to have a journey that's fun and exciting and that I enjoy, and it sometimes pays. So
again, we're talking to actor Kevin Scott Allen, actor, acting coach, author, so many things, and you've done it all. You created a 5-decade odyssey and you're still writing the story. You mentioned previously about, like, you talked when Stephanie mentioned today and people going viral. For somebody who's been doing this for, like I said, over 5 decades, and for somebody who's really dedicated their life to the craft, not just, okay, this the scene, Kev, you're gonna smoke a cigarette and you're gonna hug on this girl, and somebody who's actually done it, does it bother you, honestly, when you see people who really just, they have no business of being in front of a camera? That's because today's world, anybody walks around with these and, has an internet connection can now call themselves an actor or a film director. Does it bother you a little bit from the standpoint as I've done the work, I've been on the sets, I've worked with the legends, and here's somebody that obviously just is mimicking something, is now calling themselves the same thing I am. Does that necessarily bother you?
It doesn't, because first of all, you got to get out of comparing yourself to folks. If you are in your journey and you're doing your journey, it's your thing. And it's like being upset that somebody's prettier than you are, or younger than you are, or has more money than you do. If you focus on that stuff, you're not focusing on what you are doing. You know what? I don't know these people's personal journeys. I think it's terrific. You got all these followers, great. Do I personally think that's something that's going to carry you into old age? No, probably not. You'll probably end up doing something else in a year, or when your camera breaks, or when somebody wants to see more.
UPS is hiring. There you go.
There you go. Macy's down the street has a help wanted sign. And a lot of these people will, they'll job themselves out. They'll expose what it is that they have, and people, America, the world gets tired after 5 minutes. Yeah. But I don't resent that. I don't look at it as any kind of comparison, because if I did, then I'm focusing on the wrong thing.
Right.
You know, I'm focusing on, oh, they have a nicer car than I do. What, you know, instead of deciding what I need to do to make my life better, I'm worried about comparison all the time. To me, it's meaningless. You know what? You want to watch so-and-so's YouTube channel and watch them do the Chinese splits in the sand and then put on eye makeup, then obviously what I'm going to do is not something that's going to entertain you. So go ahead and watch it. You know, you want to watch my stuff? Great. You know, so you got to, I got over that a long time ago.
Definitely. Well said. I'm going to take a quick break. I want to come back and talk about American Primeval.
Cool.
Obviously, Emmy Award winning show, and more current to the younger audience. I'm somebody who respects the craft, so I see Stephanie didn't even know what the Waltons was an hour ago.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we're going to continue on. Kevin Scott Allen, Non-Fee Lounge. Don't go nowhere. We're back on the ride, Non-Fee Lounge, still joined by the best team in radio, Mike moderator Stephanie Pearl, and our special guest, actor, acting coach, author, legend Kevin Scott Allen joined us this evening. You know, I wore this shirt. I didn't know if you ever was on Sanford and Son. I said, like he said, well, he's on What's Happening. He might have been on with Fred and Lamont.
I wasn't on it. I shot in the same studio with What's Happening, shot in the same place.
Right.
I absolutely adored that show. Talk about people who knew their craft. And what I so loved about Sanford and Son, Red Fox, is that man brought in all the people that he worked with through the years in every podunk club. He didn't forget his friends. He didn't forget their talent, and he brought them to his show. And that's something you just don't see.
Yeah.
I think that's what made that show so incredibly special.
Definitely. Before we get on with American Primeval, just from those old days, because I'm kind of a throwback. I love old TV shows. I'll sit back on YouTube and watch. I was just watching What's Happened, trying to find your episode the other night. So So for somebody who's been doing this a while, tell us a story that maybe you can relate or resonate to our audience, that somebody could say, wow, you know, Kevin was in this person's presence, or you shared a studio. What's one of the stories you can give us from yesteryear?
Oh, Lord, gosh, there's so many. Probably one of the ones I think that just came to mind when you were talking about, you know, all the effort it takes with the craft that people used to put into it. And nowadays, you know, anybody with the camera can become a celebrity. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think now, 13. And I was sent over to Disney Studios to film a bit for Mickey Mouse's 50th birthday celebration. All right. And they were blocking out the scene I'm going to be in. You and this woman are going to be in the store. You're going to walk out of the store. You're helping her to the car with her groceries. She says goodbye, and then she walks on. All right. We do that. And I'm working with just this a stand-in, because I don't know who the woman is. She's not there yet. Well, all of a sudden, we're ready to shoot, and up walks Ella Fitzgerald. And it's just Ella and me. And I kind of knew who she was, sort of maybe, but not really. But what I remember is she was like everybody's grandmother. She was the sweetest, gentlest woman. And because this whole big dance number happening, all this stuff was happening way over there. So it was just she and I sitting here in our little chairs waiting because they had to work out all this very technical stuff.
Right.
And so I'm asking her things like, wow, that's a really pretty, necklace you have. She goes, oh, honey, Count Basie gave that to me, blah, blah, blah. And she said, now you make sure, sweetie, you look at my eyes, okay? Because if they start to get red, you tell me. Because if they do, we got to stop. I said, oh, okay. So that was my job, to make sure Ella's eyes didn't get red. And when I got home and I, mentioned to my uncle, he almost had a heart attack. He started pulling out albums. Listen to this, listen to this, listen to that. And I realized this woman, I realized not only how big she was in terms of celebrity, but how incredible her voice was. What a star.
Yeah.
And to this day, I think of that when you hear people throwing tantrums on set and all that. Not at all. She sat there, didn't go retreating to her trailer when she wasn't on camera, didn't have 18 people bringing her waters and mints and this and that. Just sitting there with this kid who she didn't know from Adam, having a lovely time in our little chairs talking. And that impressed me, that somebody of that magnitude, stardom, just a regular person with a beautiful voice and personality.
Incredible.
So,
Yeah, man.
Kevin, you come off the same way that you explained Ella being to you. And from stuff that I've watched, it conveys on screen. Obviously, when you're on screen, it's a switch. So as you need to apply it. Could you just tell us about the Kevin when there's no cameras, no lights, plain regular Kevin, Frosted Flakes at 11 at night, like that Kevin?
There are a number of people who would probably say, you don't want to see that, Kevin. It's because I grew up in this world of, and I live in a world when I work, especially, if you just sort of go with what's happening. Most of the time, if I feel like singing, I'm going to stand up and sing. If I feel like dancing, I used to dance with my dog all the time because I just feel like doing it. And the dog would look at me like, So what I usually have to do is monitor my behavior when I'm in public. I can't get up in the restaurant and start screaming out. And it's not that I'm stoned or drunk or any of that stuff. That's just kind of, I still have the energy, or not quite as much, but I did as a kid. So I'll sit back and I'll talk to the TV. I'll argue with the television. I'll argue with the characters. I'll argue with the actors. What the hell are you doing? Don't you realize it's a close-up? Why are you bugging your eyes, lady? Or argue with the writer. I don't believe that. Don't believe a word of it. And it's annoying if somebody else is in the room with me. I have to sort of, sorry. But I learned, I guess, early on that 90% of the world goes around shutting down who they are. We got to behave ourselves. Again, we're taught that as kids, and that makes sense. I can't go to the dry cleaners and punch them because my suit's not ready, or cry because they're out of corn at the store. I guess I could, but I'd probably be wearing a white jacket that was like this.
Come with us, Kev. Let's talk.
Yeah, exactly. See this lovely wallpaper? It's painted. So, we learn we got to behave ourselves. And the trouble with actors is we have to learn to behave ourselves, yes, but not when the camera's going. And that doesn't mean you go crazy. But stories are always about people who have encountered life that's out of their control. You can't do what you normally did because something's changed. Otherwise, it's not an interesting story. So I have to go there a lot, especially the kind of roles I play. So it just, what it's done to me is Kevin just sort of made me this kind of kooky guy, I guess, who has to remind himself that not everybody wants you to be that free. I mean, I'm not inappropriate, but if I feel like laughing, I'll laugh. If it's a funeral, I'll go outside and laugh, but I'll still laugh.
No doubt.
So
that's going to live without regrets in this life, and you found that oasis. That's a beautiful thing.
So, I'm really curious. I know you've played a lot of roles, and I'm just wondering how do you balance your personal identity with the characters you play, right?
Yeah.
Because you hear a lot of actors kind of come forward with experiences where they feel like they're becoming their character and they get lost in it.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of wondering, have you ever found yourself doing the same thing?
Yeah, I did a film some years ago. It's kind of a tragic story called Twin Trees. A Chinese director came over from China with half of his crew to make this movie because he couldn't make it in China. It was about a very hideously abusive father with two boys, one of whom turns out to be gay. And he said, funny, the abuse, no big deal in China, but I can't make a story about a gay character. So he came over here. And it was a really difficult role because it was a man who had a loving family and the wife died and he just became this living hell and took it out on his kids physically and emotionally. And I used to come home every day and hop in the shower immediately to wash the filth of this man off of me because I couldn't carry it with me. I had to get rid of it. And I also made a conscious decision every moment that we weren't actually filming a scene. I'm with the two guys, and they weren't children. They were 20 and 22, but they looked like they were 14 and 16. And I purposely spent every time, as much time as I could, joking with them, laughing with them, really getting to know who they were and bonding as a loving family. Because part of that was, that's what they were until Dad went off the deep end. Because if it didn't, I would have fallen into that abyss. And it can be very alluring. Strong emotions are alluring. It's like a drug. And when you start to feel them and act them, you don't want to let them go. I mean, think about the first time you fell in love. You didn't want those moments ever to end. Well, it's kind of the same thing. So you have to have an exit strategy. And many actors don't do that, but you have to. Is it having a glass of wine? Is it singing your favorite song? Is it petting your dog? For me, it was taking a shower and, pouring a glass of wine. Kissing your husband, kissing your wife, your children. What is it? You have to have something. Otherwise, you will fall into that abyss, and it's really hard to get out when you do.
Rinsing your soul, per se, using the shower as a cleanser. Again, we're talking to Kevin Scott Allen, actor extraordinaire. I want to go into something you've done recently, 2-time Emmy Award-winning program, American Primeval. Talk about that character. Doesn't sound like it's as dark as you just mentioned, but very unique nevertheless to itself. Talk about the character.
He was actually just as dark, if not darker. In fact, if you go to, I think it's one of the websites, when they list the episodes and you go to episode 3, there's literally my picture and the caption is, "The leads meet pure evil." Because that's what this guy was. And what attracted to me about this whole story is this is the West pretty much as it was.
Right.
There's no guy in a white hat. Everybody has dirty clothes. There's no laundromat. Good guy doesn't always win. In fact, most frequently does not win.
Right.
The bad guys are bad, and there's nobody there many times to say, "Oh, I'm going to give you your comeuppance." And that's who this guy was. He gets his comeuppance because of the incredible fortitude of Betty Gilmore's character, who ends up turning the tables, but it's not what you think's going to happen. But until she does, he is master of the universe. And again, I think I'm a nice guy. I play a lot of hideous people. So you just find in yourself what's the emotional justification for this man's actions. And for him, his justification was, you know what? The world has stranded me. It's stranded my people out there. And I'm going to do whatever I can to take back the control that I no longer have, that the world has taken from me. And if that involves rape, stealing, killing, so be it. So I go to, okay, when has Kevin ever felt a little out of control and displaced? Is it because I'm in a traffic jam and I want to just get out and scream, and if I had the power, I could park all those cars? How would that make me feel? I'm throwing cars out of my way. So I find an emotional parallel that doesn't have to have anything to do with the actual story. You tell me to kill somebody, you know what I think about? A mosquito. Because I hate mosquitoes. And I kill that thing with relish. Same as the guy who plays Son of Sam, right? It's the same emotional experience. So
mentally, you get yourself almost like in a hornet's nest, because now I have the right and the free will to get into that character, that zone.
And the minute they yell cut, Betty Gilmore and I are laughing, or I'm hugging, or whatever, or we're talking about her kids, or an article that she wrote, or something that I wrote. Action, we're right back there again. And you develop that facility of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's almost like a button you have inside. When I push this button, I'm this guy. When I push that button, I'm Kevin. And again, along with that button being pushed, there's a discipline. I know that I physically won't go too far. I won't hurt her. I also insist on everything I've ever done where there's action, that it be rehearsed and it be choreographed to a slow count, very precisely. 1, I'm going to do this. 2, 3, 4. And when you do that, it becomes a dance. And okay, you do it. Yes, sometimes things can happen, but most of the time, my experience has been they haven't, and nobody's ever gotten hurt. So that's not who I am, but I love playing characters like that because everybody has that inside them.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of freedom of sorts when you can kind of just be the bad guy for a couple hours, or is it to provide us some type of freedom?
Oh my God, yeah. How many times have you fantasized about, taking out a shotgun and blowing away all the people who are in your way when you're trying to walk down the street?
I played a heel in a wrestling event a few nights ago, and it was liberating
exactly.
For me, I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Why do you think people love these video games where they're shooting up half the city? Yeah, it's a rush. So you get to have that rush. And then the thing is, the beauty of it is I call acting sex without consequence, because nobody dies, nobody gets pregnant, nobody falls in love, nobody gets a disease, nobody's life is destroyed when they yell cut. But you
it's like watching the A-Team, huh, Kevin? Everybody blows up, nobody dies, huh?
Exactly. Those guys all went home, and probably had a TV dinner, a normal life. But when they're working, look the heck out. Yeah. So that's what American Primeval was about. It was about representing this evil, rough world. And that's what attracted me to it. And that's what I think its appeal is.
Yeah. Because
you watch it hoping against hope that good things will happen. And some good things do happen. But it's not candy-coated.
Right.
And I think it's why the Academy stood up and said, oh, it's also why it's been streamed over 35 million times.
Yeah.
So, some people have seen it.
Yeah. It's had.
Yeah, one or two. Yeah.
Good, my
Yeah.
I'm just listening to you. Like I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I get to be a fan, right?
Oh,
I get to be a fan, and it's great to talk to somebody who's, work I've watched and have admired and like, yeah, that's my guy. I watch him. Like, watch him. You'll learn a little something about yourself. Let's pivot a little bit. Other than the acting, I know you do a little coaching.
Yeah.
So how was that a natural progression for you? Was it you know what? I'm just tired of seeing all these bad young actors. Look, come hither. Let's talk. Come sit at the feet. Let us talk. Kissing the ring is optional, but come sit here and let's talk. Like, was it that, or was it something different, or a mix of both?
I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but I find most young actors and most actors out there don't really want to learn. They just want to be told how good they are. And I started teaching for a friend who has a studio in town who needed some help because he was going out of town. And I thought, wow, most of you just want to, be in acting class for the next 10 years, do your little scene, or you'll come here to emotionally scream and yell and emote. I think you should be in a group therapy session instead of an acting class. But I found most of them that's what they wanted. But every now and then there would be an actor or an actress. I'd say, oh, no, they're in this to learn. They're in this because there's something going on that they need to do this. They're not just doing it because they have nothing to do on a Tuesday night. And those are the actors that then sought me out and said, hey, can you help me with this audition? Can you help me with this? Because I'm not getting that. And I said, sure, I've got some time. And then it became a labor of love because I realized, wow, when you have somebody who's that eager to learn, it does something. I guess it's like watching your child take their first steps. And that's how it felt to me. So much that I swear I get more excited when people who study with me work than when I do. because I know they're fulfilling a dream. I have a young actor, Will Sag is his name, who I think is going to be a major A-lister because he has come a long way. And watching the light go on in his eyes when we work on something and he realizes, oh, so I see what you're saying. I need to explore this. This is this part of me, and really let this guy come alive in this way. I get chills. So that's also addicting. And I thought, if there are people out there who want to learn what I have to teach them, I want to be there for them if I can. And so I absolutely I certainly don't do it. I shouldn't say certainly. I don't do it for the money. But I also learned if you don't charge somebody something, they think it's worthless.
Yes. I think it's worthless.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I swear I do it for free. But, if you do, then people don't think it has value. So that is what hooked me, Mike.
Do you find that this is a side question? Kev and Steph will kind of know where this is coming from. Do you, of all your students, how many students do you get? Do you get one periodically, maybe one a year, who profession is not acting?
Oh, I get a bunch of those.
And a lawyer or a doctor. Kevin knows, they know where I'm going with this. I do voiceovers.
Oh, cool.
So, and one of my voiceover coaches was like, yeah, every voiceover student is not trying to do commercials or narration. Some of these people are doctors, want to learn to speak better, want to understand the art of making it felt, or it's a car salesman, go figure, who wants to be able to better relate when the customer comes through the door. So I was just curious, do you find that some of your, clientele that comes through the door have this is not about me being on a Netflix series. This is about me selling 5 more cars this month and making quota.
None that have come through my door. And I have a friend, he's a longtime acting coach who used to work a lot with people like that. And it's not that I'm opposed to it, because what that kind of person would be seeking is help me play this specific character with these very specific, always to be repeated goals in mind. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. My whole approach is, we are human beings with 850,000 different reactions and feelings, and we need to make sure every single one of those is available at any given time to bring into a role. You can't really do that if you need to focus on, I need to sell you cars, I need to sell you religion, I need to sell you this. So I think it's not that I would necessarily turn someone like that away. They're just, there's an old saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. I don't appear in their orbit, and they don't seem to appear in mine.
Got it.
But I know what you mean, yeah. And I think, remember the old days when people were taught how to speak, they were taught how to walk, they were taught how to debate. So they don't teach that anymore.
None of it. None of it.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. And Kevin, I kind of want to know what's next. What's next on the docket? Like I said again, you've been doing this a long time, but you got more hair than me and Mike, and you look like you're 25. But we're gonna come back and talk about what's next for Kevin Scott Allen. It's 950 Lounge. Don't go nowhere. We're back on the Ride 950 Lounge, still joined by Mike moderators, the lovely, super talented Steph Pearl, and our special guest, Mr. Kevin Scott Allen. Again, Kevin, as Mike said, obviously it is a great situation having you here and talking about all your acting chops and some of the legendary people you've crossed paths with. But again, you still got a lot on the plate. The story is not over. We're not rolling the credits for Kevin Scott Allen. What's next for you? What's the next step? What is something that all the years you've done it, that you say, you know what, if I can write it, this is what I want. Or if an opportunity came this is how I present it. What role is that, or what situation is that Kevin really wants to do still left in his career?
It's a fun question. One of the things I've been working with my team on is, I played a lot of people who will kill you in 4 seconds, not even 4 seconds, 2 seconds. And what we've been looking for and focusing on is what a saying I came up with not long ago, which was, what I really enjoy is playing the man who can kill you with a caviar spoon. These sophisticated. And a book that I wrote, a mystery, Murder Can Be Fatal, is now in development. Yeah. And it's kind of a cross between that guy and a rough New York LA detective. Yeah. And that's what we're working on right now, developing that into either a miniseries, which is what I want it to be, or a film if the people who decide to distribute it go that way.
Right.
So that's where we're sort of focusing. I've done a lot of the rough and tumble guys who are filthy, dirty, down, dragged out. I'm thin, so I get a lot of drug dealer guys. I had somebody in the store once yell at me, "You're a drug addict." And I thought, okay, if you count aspirin. But, no, I just don't eat a lot. I'm thin. What can I tell you? So I'm looking to up the same kind of guy, but experience him in a little different way. And we've been pretty successful. We've had a lot of people express interest in Murder Can Be Fatal. So we're just now looking for the right team to put it together.
Tell me about that.
With that being said, out of curiosity, would you play your character or would you rather direct?
Oh, see, that's a hard one because I enjoy doing both. I really do. It's a different, how do I put this? It's a different sensation. To me, when you direct, you really have to be in control as much as you can be. And the whole point of acting is you're playing somebody who is not in control. Yeah. If they were in control of their world, there would be no story. And that's like being in the roller coaster with your hands up. It's so fun and exciting to do. I enjoy directing because I've done it and I enjoy guiding other actors through the process. So that's something that I have to wait and see what's offered at the time. I had somebody, we were talking about directing one of their projects. And I said, if I'm available, I would be more than happy to. I enjoy it. I'm not opposed to it at all. I just have to see which way the people who join the team want to go with it. They may want to go with somebody with a lot bigger name cred. I don't take offense at that. I can't sell tickets Tom Cruise can. So okay, whatever. Or whoever they want to go with. I'm not nearly as pretty as Stephanie Pearl. They want to hire somebody pretty. They're going to go with you. I don't take offense at that at all.
I tell you, you get that late night LA. Let's get you in an acting class with Kevin tomorrow. Let's go.
Let's do it. With that smile, she can go anywhere.
I've been telling her that for years.
True.
But tell me about this character a little bit, this detective character. But look, I'm a amateur writer, and I look at I'm thinking of the character, little 5 o'clock shadow. He drives a rag hood car, and he smokes Marlboro, and he has the blazer on from 3 days this week. He's got a girl that he won't commit to, but he don't even know why she's with him. Tell me about this character a little bit. Dude,
you must have read the book, because that's pretty much it. In fact, all of my friends who have read it said, "Oh, Kevin, I just see you. I laugh because I hear you say words." He's a guy who's a champion for the underdog, and the whole point of this guy, he's a detective who lost everything. Big Easy had the misfortune to actually believe a woman who told him that her husband was abusing her, and they were separated at the time. I believe even divorced, but the husband was a cop. So the husband did everything in his power to destroy this private detective's life in terms of his career, his business. And so he's kind of, at the opening of the book, he's living in a down and dirty Airbnb because that's the best he can do right now. His license was taken away. And this cop still has it in for him because he had the audacity to call the man on his stuff. And so a young girl comes to him who needs help finding her uncle. And she said, all I can afford is $20. And it's like, what do you do? She's 16, and he pretty much says, it's either drink gin all day, which I kind of like to do, or go out and help her. So he does. And of course, the cop is a homicide cop who gets involved in it. But that's the guy. In fact, she even makes fun of him. She says, wow, you drive this piece of crap? Only car I can afford. His landlady actually has a heart attack and dies in the place. And the paramedic says, is she your mom? He said, no, man, I'm just a renter. It's an Airbnb. She says, this dump's an Airbnb. But that's all he could afford at the time. And so that's who he is. But he's somebody who will not become the champion for the underdog. Even if it's not, and he even says, I should have walked away. I should walk away right now. This girl means trouble, but I can't. Yeah. I can't walk away from somebody who needs help.
Well, if you ever want to add a Huggy Bear character to it, where you got, somebody like, give me a call. We can make my people tell your people we can make it work.
I love that. That would be fun. Seriously, my favorite character is one called Mamacita, who's a Latina grandmother whose answer to the world is, you eat the hottest pepper you can because it keeps away the devil. So she's always eating habaneros like candy. It's a fun world, but that's who the guy is. And it's kind of who I am. I'm a sucker. I see the cat on the street. I want to maybe not pick it up, but I'll do everything I can to make sure it's okay. I'd even help a rattlesnake out if I thought it needed help. Probably shouldn't do that. I know I got to be careful.
Don't do that. Leave the rattlesnake there. Just run the other way. Go the other way.
Give it a rap.
The Kevin Scott Allen, actor extraordinaire, many decades. We can't thank you enough for doing. We could do this all day, and like I said again, the stories and the lineage you could tell. I mean, I know you're author, but that might be something to write too. Just some of the stories. I mean, the Ella Fitzgerald, incredible. But as my compadre Mike moderator would always ask, and I'm gonna do Mike. I know what, Mike. I'll let you do it because you do it much better than me. I can't give it justice, but please, you know what I'm talking about.
First of all, let me say that I took the time to scroll through your IMDb. And just going through the IMDb, all the shows that Mad Men, CS, what was it, Criminal Minds. I'm just sitting a Deep Space Nine episode here or there or what, and I'm just like, oh wait, I'm talking to him. Like, this is who's gonna believe me? No one's gonna believe me.
I'm fool.
With that, I just want to say thank you for your years of work because you've truly helped distract me from some hard times in life. And I just want to say that I believe in telling people thank you when I get the opportunity. Thank you for your hard work over these years. I could never thank you enough. Yes. With that being said, if Kevin could pick up the telephone and speak to Kevin from 25 years ago, 30 years ago, what would today's Kevin say to that Kevin?
I'm assuming I can't swear on the show, so I'm gonna cut the swear words, but you hear them in your head. Be the F who you are. And in everything about you that you think is bad, everything somebody tells you is bad, embrace it. It's there for a reason. Don't be so freaking afraid, and don't try to be what you think people want you to be. Figure out how to be who you are without getting arrested. Because like most kids or young people, you go through the world thinking, well, this is what I need to be. This is what they want me to be. This is what I should be. When I shed that coat of iron and steel, life became so much easier. And that's what I would tell that Kevin. And if people say you should go left and you want to go right. And do it with conviction. And then you know what? They won't follow. And if they don't, bye.
F them, right? There you go.
You know?
Kevin Scott Allen, thank you so much, sir. It's been a great. If you're ever in New York, we love to have you in studio. We love to have you in studio in New York. And like I said, think about that with Steph. You know, that Huggy Bear character. I think it's got a little.
Hey, I'm working on a sequel that takes place in LA, and you know what? There could very well be a Huggy Bear character, and I'm envisioning him as the guy's best friend.
There you go. There you go. We can have Mike do the voiceovers. We'll knock it all out. Knock it all out.
No, I think we should have Stephanie do the voiceover for you. That would be interesting. Her voice, your face.
That's a movie.
That's a movie.
Especially in this day and age. Kevin, where can people reach out to find more information? Some of your great stuff.
Thank you. I always forget that my PR people scream and yell at me about this. I'm on Instagram. I think it's Kevin_Scott_Allen. I don't use Instagram to post pictures of my omelet. It's all about, it's all about professional stuff. They can go there. A lot of times there's several projects I've done that aren't up on IMDb yet. And a lot of times that means I don't know even where to tell you to look for it because they're still looking for a distribution deal. Yeah. But that's a good place to check. I'm on Facebook. You can Facebook me, Kevin Scott Allen. I'm not, exclusive. I respond to messages unless, I get hi. I'm, 5'4" with an 85-inch bust. Don't you want to go out sometime? Which I get all the time, but I throw those away. But check Instagram, check Facebook. If you want to message me, go right ahead. If I'm not working and I have the time, I always reply. And I reply, not a PR person. I don't deal with that. I know it could be polarizing to say, but Bill Cosby said to me many years ago, I have advice for you: sign your own checks, sign your own photographs for autographs, and answer your own mail. And I think that's great advice. I'm sorry that a lot of other stuff has sullied his name and career, but I took that advice to heart.
Well said. Kevin, thank you so much, man. Continue blessings and success, and we'll definitely be watching. I'm gonna take a quick break. Keep this thing moving. Best team in radio. Where else you want to be?
Ciao, guys.
That was fantastic.
That was great, guys.